is up, Megan Santa Barbara? How are you doing today?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I just checked in with my coach. It's like I thought it was gonna maybe be a high day,
Yeah,
and it's not. It's like
it
another.
never is.
He's like, we're gonna keep pushing through the weekend. Like, awesome. I'm here for it.
Well,
So,
you look awesome. You look great.
thank you so much. You do too. It's been really cool watching your journey, and that's kind of like what I wanted to talk about. Some of this podcast is just like you've gone through a lot of different like versions of yourself in
Hmm.
bodybuilding.
Yeah.
I think you went pro in 2018, right?
Yes, I did.
In
Junior
figure
and figure.
at junior nationals. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, because I think I followed you around the time I was first starting competing in 2015, 2016,
Yeah.
and seeing you go pro and then go into your pro debut in figure. Talk about like just that journey, like because I know you started in figure, you dabbled in women's physique, and then now you're full blown wellness.
Yeah. So I also started, competing in 2016. I knew absolutely nothing. I came from strictly ballet background, never lifted a weight in my life. So it was like a total, 180 for sure. I was like the cardio bunny when I entered the gym, and I guess I had not shit genetics, and I just responded quite well to, basic weightlifting. I didn't really know what I was doing per se, but I worked with, Jason Theobald, who's,
Was that your first coach?
yeah, he was
Oh
my
wow.
only coach up until Cameron this last year.
Yeah.
So I worked with Jason, and I'm also a Scooby Health coach, so I work under him now. But worked with him, competed, I believe, twice in 2016, qualified me for nationals, and just because you're qualified for nationals, maybe you shouldn't step on a national stage. That was definitely me. I was very under muscled, but back then, I feel like figure was like a smaller division.
Yeah.
So my first time stepping on stage on the national stage, I placed fifth. So I was still pretty, like, relatively small for the division, in my opinion. So, we took some time, and then we came back the next year and I won my pro card. Still pretty small.
Yeah.
But I was conditioned, and I think it was my conditioning that got me the pro card for sure. And I stayed with Jason throughout that whole time. Took a good 2 year off season, and in that off season, I started um, my doctor of chiropractic. So I competed in the midst of getting a doctorate and also COVID era. So that was fun.
Was
I,
was 2020 your pro debut season?
yeah, yeah, COVID.
Okay. Got it.
That was a great time to do a pro debut.
Yeah.
But yeah, that didn't go as planned. I definitely brought my best. Those 2 years in the off season, I put on a good amount of size. Still, I mean, looking at my photos, um, it's a smaller, or maybe not smaller look, because my legs were definitely dominant. I could always hold a good amount of mass in especially the front of my legs, like my quads, glutes. I had no glutes, pancake ass, pancake ass. It was terrible. Um, but my delts were still not like crazy big. It was mainly my width, and I think it
Yeah.
was that big ass V taper that really like held my own there. But I guess it didn't do me any good there because I placed dead last at my pro debut. That was a hard pill to swallow because
Yeah.
you go from placing first and then fifth and then at nationals getting your pro card, and you're like, oh, you're always winning, 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 and then you
Hmm.
get that really hard low and you're like, shit. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And the feedback was, I'm too big for figure, which now it probably wouldn't be the case if I brought that same package to the figure stage.
Yeah.
But maybe I was a little too conditioned for figure at the time. So they wanted me to do WPD. And, I talked to Jason, we started switching gears. Our goal was to do, so I did Tampa, and I think it was like 4 or 6 weeks later was Arizona Pro for WPD. And I was going to go into that, but at the time too, I was struggling with an eating disorder, or like
Mm.
still struggling with my eating disorder from my ballet days. And I just came clean to Jason. I was like, listen, like after that loss, it was just so hard that with the stress of school, I was like, my eating disorder is like
Too much.
overwhelmingly high. Like I need to pull the plug. So it's
What exactly were you struggling with during that time, if you don't mind me asking?
so, well, I guess long story short, I was diagnosed with like anorexia nervosa and bulimia from the age of 15. And I went through like outpatient therapy for it. I went through
Wow.
just many like psychiatrist therapies. Um, and I still struggled with it when moved away from ballet to weightlifting. I was like, oh, this is like a healthier alternative. And I think,
Yeah.
it was because I was eating more. Yeah, I was eating
Mhm.
more, but I was still having tendencies of like binging and, you know, purging and all of that. And especially after that loss with the Tampa Pro, I was just, I
Yeah, it brings
was,
a lot of that back.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
pretty ugly. So I was restricting heavily and like binging and then, yeah,
Yeah.
purging and all that. And it could be like doing an immense amount of cardio that I did not need to do. And I was like, this isn't good. I'm
Yeah.
just going in the wrong direction. So we pulled the plug. And honestly, I mean, my view of bodybuilding, it kind of went to crap. Like, I I think I had a lot of pressure going into my pro debut. Like a lot of my I hate saying like fan base because I'm just a
Mhm.
normal girl. Um, but
No, but
like
it's real. Like
yeah,
that is a big thing that I see affecting a
mhm,
lot of competitors in whatever way.
you're
Is
right.
like the hype squad. Whether
Mhm.
you have 20,000 followers, 50,000, a million, like people expect a lot out of you
Oh yeah,
because they love you and they support you, or
yeah,
maybe they hate you and they want to
yeah,
see you lose.
yeah,
And
exactly.
that's hard to like think about letting them down when you get
Mhm.
dead last at a show because I've been there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
So that was heaven of heaven. That was holding heavy on me. Like people just kept saying, "Oh, you're gonna place top 5 at your pro debut." Jason was even saying it.
Hmm.
People close to me were like, "Oh, you're gonna win your pro debut." So I had that at the top of my head. I was like, "Yeah, I have to do this." And then like first call outs were called nothing. Second call outs nothing. And I bursted out in tears backstage. I was like, "Oh my god." I got
Yeah.
third call outs, and then I ended up getting 16th, which is nothing. It's not, you don't
Yep.
place. That's not it. That's nothing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it left a poor taste in my mouth for bodybuilding. And, at the time I had other obligations. I was trying to get my doctorate. I really wanted to regain my mental health when it came
Hmm.
to like food, eating, body image. And that was hard. Like, it took me years. And I split up with Jason. I was like, listen, I just don't think right now is the time for me to be with a coach at all. And,
Yeah.
I told myself I'm not going to hire a coach again until I'm 100% game on getting back on stage and my relationship with myself and food is in a better place. So, I didn't hire anybody until last June when, I was in contact with Cameron Cheek and we've been together for about 13 months now and like made crazy progress. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
you have. So, in that time
Mhm.
from when you split up with Jason after that kind of pro debut season, so 2020 ish,
Yeah.
and to the time you hired Cam, what would you say is like, what did you go through during that time? Like, in a nutshell, how were you able to like get your mental health on track? Did you ever feel like, is bodybuilding even something I want to do? Did you
Mhm.
talk about or think about quitting? Like, what was that
Oh,
like?
definitely. So immediately post show, I was struggling with a terrible cycle of just restricting, binging, just a bad rebound. And I think as competitors, it sucks to admit because you want to be perfect with your reverse. But like at the end of the day, I always tell people like I'm human. Like I have emotions, like I've got mental health things too. Like we just sometimes we have to figure it out for ourselves. And it
Yeah.
took me a lot of trial and error that first year. And eventually, like, my love for training was just dwindling so much. And it could have been the stress of, feeling like I failed at my pro debut, feeling like I wasn't cut out for it, or maybe just like the doctorate too. I mean, that was just a load on me. So I started to kind of move away from bodybuilding style training. I was just going in, enjoying it a little bit more. And then I was just like, screw this. Like, I don't even want to track my food. And I ended up taking an entire year off of tracking my food, doing like intentional cardio, training a certain way. I was just literally, I tried to do 5Ks. I was running. Like, I don't run. And I was trying to
Yeah.
do
You
5K.
know when a bodybuilder
Like,
starts like running long distance, like there's
I
something
don't
they're going through
think
some
I'm
shit.
gonna- yeah. So yeah, I bought running shoes too. Like I was getting in it. Like I was getting in it. So yeah, and then I got my boobs redone. So I took time off of training then, and then I had my little because I guess growing up when I turned 21, like I was very into bodybuilding, so I never had like a party phase. So during my last like couple semesters in doctorate school, I had my little 21-year-old like party phase a little late in the game. So I was just
Yeah.
being a human. And I
Yeah.
think that's what really improved my mental health was just letting go a little bit, stepping back actually. And that's what moved me, 3 steps forward. Um, but then I guess it was what, 2022, November, December, more like December 2022, when I was like, okay, I was here in Tampa. I was like, all right, I need a change. Like, I think I can do this again. So I was slowly getting back into it. And then I was posting like my progress with my wellness, and I was puny at the time. I was still like, I didn't have the legs that I have now. And,
So what made you then during that time
yeah.
when you were transitioning back into it, what made you decide like I'm going to do wellness instead of figure women's physique?
So, I mean, I tried to transition prior to that year that I took off from like training
Okay.
and tracking. I tried to like just kind of look into wellness because it was coming up a
So
little
new,
more
yeah.
often, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I kind of like that from just my view of what I want as femininity for myself.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I know looking at my figure days, like, yes, I'm very wide framed, but my upper body muscle mass was always smaller than my lower. I can always put on more muscle on my lower way easier than my upper. And now it's like a pain in the ass to get rid of any of my upper. But it's just sticking on. But yeah, I was already kind of transitioning into it. But then that's when like just the rigidity of getting back on track with my nutrition and training, I just fell out of love for it. And I was like,
Yeah.
screw this. I need a break, like a true break. And it ended up being a year. I wasn't expecting it to be a year, but it did good for me. So I know it's nerve wracking when people think about like doing that. They think they're gonna like diminish all their progress, but it actually moved me forwards for sure.
Yeah, and you really don't know how that time off. It's not always that it's like actual time off, like time off from training, time off from eating. Like you were obviously still eating.
Mhm.
You just weren't tracking and you were probably still training with decent intensity, but you're probably also taking more rest days and allowing yourself to like really just like be healthy and like a healthy body is so much more responsive, and I think that time was probably like the reason you've made so much progress in such short amount of time. Really like the last 13 months with Cam,
Mhm.
I think that's what I would assume is like that rest really allowed for like a springboard for you to make all this
Yeah,
progress now.
I agree. And I think also I have no like there's no preconceived notion or anything. Like I have nothing going into this. This is a
Hmm.
fresh new territory for me, wellness.
Yeah.
Like I can make what I want out of it. So I
Yeah, you're
don't have
starting from the bottom,
yeah, yeah,
pretty much. But I
pretty
mean, you
much.
have your pro card,
Yeah,
obviously,
that's
but yeah,
I mean that's going for me. But like, yeah, I'm literally a minnow in an entire huge ass sea. So I think it's fun. And, I'm sure we'll get into it, but I mean, I'm not a super short, like, I am not a wellness girl. When you look at me, like, you wouldn't be like, oh, yeah, she's wellness. Maybe now, because, like, the way I'm structured with my muscle development. But wellness, like, you think petite and, like, the big horse legs and, like, tiny, tiny waist and, like, tiny, tiny upper. That's not me. So I do have a challenge on my side with that. And my height, definitely. Like, I'm
How
five.
tall are you again? 5'9"?
No, 5'7.5". See, people think I'm
Oh,
so tall. I'm really
yeah.
I'm not terribly tall. Like, I don't know where that came from either. Like, somebody on
Probably the fact that you're so heavy.
I
Like
guess I
like,
dig this.
like, you in a good way, like,
Yeah, yeah,
that's a
sure.
compliment, you know?
For sure.
Like, you have dense muscle,
Yeah,
and so when people see you post your weight, like,
yeah,
I think your peak off-season growth phase weight was, like, 212 or
215.
not, sorry, something like that,
Yeah, it was yeah,
right? Like, that's
215.
insane.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I had a Reddit thread going. Somebody was
Yeah.
mad that I said I was 5'7.5". I'm like, I can measure myself right now. Like, what? People are so
Yeah.
weird on the internet, man. But
Yeah.
yeah, but it's not going in my, like, technically going in my favor, but I think it's kind of an advantage, although I'm going to look like a freak of nature next to those 5 foot girls. Like, I'm gonna be towering over them. But I have so much more room to grow. Like, if
Yeah.
they keep growing, they're gonna look more like WPD quicker than I actually will. I just have
Yeah.
to, pose my upper body a little bit differently than them. But, you
Well,
know,
like, you have no problem putting on muscle, like you said. And so, like, while you continue to grow and then also bring down your upper body, like, you will continue to improve. And those muscle bellies look really like they're long, but they're not like five
mhm,
nine long, right?
mhm,
So I think you're right. You do have an advantage there. And with any division, but like wellness for sure is like it really depends on who shows up at, like, the shows that you do. So say your pro debut, your wellness pro debut
mhm.
season, you go to like three different shows, you could have three totally different lineups.
Oh,
And while like you may not be as competitive next to like a whole lineup of like 5 foot girls, but if there's a lot more variance in height, like if you have the best look, you have the best look. And that's what bodybuilding is all about, is that it is kind of subjective in that way. And it depends on, what everyone looks like together, and then also plus what you look like by yourself.
yeah, definitely. And kind of going back to the Reddit thing, I had a good one going about how, I'm not wellness because of my
Yeah, I
leg
remember.
clavicles and all that. I'm like, okay, well, I can't remove my clavicles. So, I mean, lately I've been kind of changing my posing and it's helped significantly. So, I'm just happy I get to prove the Reddit keyboard warriors wrong about my clavicles next year. But
Yeah, Reddit is
it's so
wild, but like watching it all unfold and watching what people post, like we're talking about the bikini talk Reddit thread, like there's a lot of just crazy shit out there, honestly. Like what I see most that like is kind of a negative is obviously like anyone who's like just putting out negativity about another competitor who like isn't doing anything wrong. Like it's not like you're a bad person or like you're being shitty outwardly, like publicly, and that's just your personality. You're just posting your progress. And
yeah,
someone's posting that and being like, this fucking idiot, she's not wellness, right?
delusional.
Um, for what reason, right? And then you also have people asking for feedback or critiques on their physique when it's like you should be asking your coach and the judges. And Reddit thread, like it doesn't matter.
No.
So what would be your advice, I guess, to people that see Reddit and see everyone doing that, like asking for critique, asking for advice, even though they have a coach, even though they have, the right people in their corner to
Yeah. I mean, I what is the saying? Like, too many chefs in the kitchen, and it's
yeah.
just like a disaster. And that is so true because I've seen on Reddit or just people in my DMs like, "What do you think about these protocols from my coach?" And I'm like, Yeah. I mean, they're there. They're their protocols, man. Like,
Protocol. Yeah.
what do you mean? I'm not going to give you my 2 cents. I don't know anything about you. And that's the
Yeah.
same thing. You're asking anonymous, mostly anonymous people on a platform for their feedback when what merit, like, what their opinion does not hold any merit. Like, who are they? Because come show day, the only people who matter are the judges who are in front of you. You know,
Yeah.
your mom's always going to think you look great. Like your fans are always going to think you look great. The people who don't like you, who don't like your physique are going to think that you look like shit. Like, so their opinion, it just doesn't hold value, it doesn't hold merit. So why let it affect you? And it's hard because you can't control like comments on your page, or I didn't make a thread on Reddit, I was posted on Reddit and then people made a thread about me, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I didn't even know about it. I had to download the app to even see it. Like, I'm not on there like scrolling and like wasting my time on there, because it's just not worth your energy. Because
No.
these negative thoughts and opinions, it's speaking more about them. Because
Mhm.
yes, I think one response was like that I can't accept criticism, like I'm not a good pro because I can't accept these criticism or whatever. And I'm like, this isn't criticism. You guys are literally tearing me apart. If it was
Yeah.
constructive, like I posted the other day, how I've been tweaking my front pose. And since I made that post, I've already changed it even more, mainly
Mhm.
from me doing it. But I also had a few comments from other pros just saying, you might want to change this or try this. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sweet. But they didn't say, you dumb bitch with your wide clavicles. Like, what are you doing? Like,
She's out of her mind. Yeah.
there's a difference between hate and negativity and constructive feedback. So I think once you mature as an athlete and as just an individual and you can read past the BS, then that will be better. But to be honest, don't waste your time on Reddit. Don't waste your time on those platforms or looking too deep into your comments, because I mean, it's not worth it. It's not going to benefit
Well,
you.
it's not. And I think, I don't know about you, like, why, what you think about like why people do that, like why do people reach out for that feedback, why do they like continue the thread and that pattern. I think it's because people are looking for validation,
Yeah,
people are
completely.
looking, maybe their coach did give them the constructive criticism that they needed
Yeah,
and
they don't
they
like it.
are looking for a different answer.
Yeah,
Or sometimes, like, I think, as you know, there's a lot of coaches out there and a lot of shitty ones.
yeah,
And so I think a lot of these people probably have shitty coaches who are not telling them the truth
yeah,
or not pushing them hard enough or not being open to questions. Like, I get a lot of inquiries that will where people are coming from a coach who like literally doesn't let them ask
yeah.
questions, or if they do ask questions, they just kind of say like, oh, just it's, don't worry about it, that's
Mhm.
that's not something for you to think about.
Yeah,
It's like, well, I want to know about it, and I just never have gotten that. But I feel like that's a big reason why people are on there, is because they're seeking something that they're
yeah.
not getting for some that they want, right?
I agree. I agree. And like you said, I think it is like a validation thing.
Mhm.
But also, like you said too, the coach issue. I've had that too with inquiries. Like, I make it known that when somebody hires me as a coach, I think of coaching as more of a collaborative effort between
Yeah.
client and coach, or athlete and coach, whatever you want to call yourself. Um, because that's their journey, that's their health, that's their body. So for me to just give them X, Y, and Z protocols and be like, it's my way or the highway, without taking into account their mental state when it comes to these changes, like when we're talking like drugs or something like that, I just think that's so low. And to
Yeah.
think that when an athlete's coming to you with a question about your protocol, it's not that they're attacking you or undermining you. It's they just want to understand, because I think if I understand what I'm doing, I'm going to adhere to it 10 times better. I'm going to
Yeah.
want to adhere to it better because I'm
Yeah,
like,
you have more
okay,
buy-in.
yeah, exactly. Like I see, okay, this is why I'm doing this, and this is the result that I'll achieve if I do adhere it. But, if I'm just have to like kind of stonewall it and just be like, yes, sir, like, yeah, got it. Like, I'm gonna give up. I'm gonna find somebody else because that's not how I work. So,
I think that happens a lot. Like people give up or people coach hop for that reason.
yeah,
Just like go from coach to coach to coach. But
yeah,
I think also what happens, especially if someone does just think like, all right, I'm just gonna follow whatever he or she says and just follow the process, and I'll get there, and I don't need to
mhm,
know why. And even if they stay with that coach for a long time, I see what happens is like people resent the sport a lot because eventually that stops working,
yeah,
or eventually you get so burnt out on what you're doing because you don't know the why,
yeah,
and you don't have that buy-in because no one ever told you why you're doing it, or maybe you're having side effects that you never knew that you would have and that they didn't explain to you, or that you don't feel safe to talk to them about. And so you see people like not last very long in the sport in bodybuilding because they didn't have that buy-in, they didn't understand the why behind what they were doing, and they look at the coach as usually as not taking care of them because they wanted to know and they couldn't, and they think that everyone is like that, or they think that that's just how bodybuilding is supposed to be, and like that's not for me anymore. But
yeah,
that's like, you're a great example, and I know like just a lot of coaches that are the same way. Like there's coaches that communicate and that want you to communicate and want you
mhm,
to like tell them what you're going through and ask questions. Like I love it when clients ask questions because it
yeah,
like allows me to help them see bodybuilding for what it really can be, and
exactly,
like also allows them to create more self-awareness, which just makes them a better athlete and a better client for me.
yeah. Now, I do see there are some coaches that do get a little like iffy when it comes to a lot of questions because yes,
Yeah.
there is a difference between me explaining something that we're doing in your protocol and me being a mentor towards you. Like, if I'm going to
Yeah.
offer mentoring, it's not going to be a couple $100 like a month, like what I charge for coaching. It's going to be more. So, you
Right.
know, I do want to give enough information where they understand they have that buy-in, they have that confidence in me as their coach, as well as themselves to follow it. But also, we have to have good boundaries set up with our clients
Mm,
too. And I think that they need to understand that as well. It's not us being like standoffish or anything like that. It's just that's a lot to like go into if it's that complex of an issue. But that's why I also offer like for my clients, like if something is so deep that I need to hop on a call with them, I have no problem doing that. But I've had, inquiries where they're like, oh, I can't even send an email if it's not my check-in day. And I'm just like, what? You're paying this
yeah.
person how much? Like what?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So,
Like you respond to check-ins the same day? What?
crazy, crazy
Crazy.
concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What so going back to like the mentorship versus coaching
Yeah.
thing, where do you feel like why do you think there's such a difference between like how you would mentor someone and how you would coach someone in terms of like what you're charging? Why is that more valuable?
Well, I guess because of the time, the money that I've also put into my continuing education, my background
Mhm.
personally. I mean, yes, I'm a doctor of chiropractic, but going through a doctorate program, you get, more information thrown your way with like how to read labs and more of the medical side.
Yeah.
Not so much the nutrition. I think I had one nutrition course during that, of course. Same with like any type of doctor. They're going to have one just, oh my gosh, it's like nutrition 101 and it's terrible. But, so most of my nutrition and coaching knowledge has come from, continuing education through mentors like Jason's courses. I've done like Dom Kuza's mentorship and
Yeah.
just reading research. I find that that is something that a lot of coaches do not do is read freaking research. Like it's
Hmm.
out there for a reason and people are just, well, no, I just go off of this person from Instagram and this and they like compile all this stuff and I'm like, okay, but what is the actual research saying? And they're like, they don't even know how to read a research study. And I'm just like, Yikes.
Yeah, or they're or they're just going off of like what their coach has always done.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, you do a few shows with a coach, you see what their lifestyle is like,
mhm,
and you see what they're doing, and you're like, wow, I think I could do that too. And then they really just coach how they've always been coached.
yeah,
And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, you've learned a lot from Jason. I learned a lot from my coaches over the years, but like that's not education.
yeah,
That's like, just like you're saying, like, coaching is not mentorship. I
mhm,
would say my first like coach that I was with for a long time, like, he didn't mentor me. He would tell me the why behind some things and stuff like that, and I would learn from experience, but that didn't actually teach me how to make decisions with my clients,
yeah,
because every client is different. Everyone has a different environment, situation, like mental obstacles, all of that. And so you can't possibly think that like the way you've been coached is
mhm,
going to work for everybody. I think that's a trap that a lot of like new coaches come into, is that like they think that's enough, so they don't read the research, or maybe they only read research and they try to coach everybody
exactly.
exactly how the research says, and that's not ideal either, because research doesn't always apply to bodybuilders that are healthy,
No, it's not
right?
ever.
Yeah.
It's usually like what the research studies are on, like fat,
Gen pop.
untrained.
Yeah.
So that's typical. But yeah, I think, a lot of like data driven coaches that just like, this is the protocol, this is what we use, and just go out like that, they're not going to last long, because a part of coaching is the communication and the relationship aspect of it. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of the old school coaches who are still on like emailing and just like doing like short little responses, they don't have that relationship with their clients anymore, that they kind of forget about the mental aspect of coaching. They're just
Yeah.
like, oh, well, just eat this, do that, and, do this amount of cardio and you'll be solid. But it's not like that anymore, because
Yeah.
now more than ever, we have so many mental health concerns. And especially with like social media and all of that, and just the world. It's just crazy. Like, we
Yeah.
are definitely struggling more with like anxiety, depression, stress, and that does impact how we respond to certain things. So being able to actually know how to communicate is a huge part of coaching, and I think that gets kind of pushed under the rug a little bit.
It totally does, and I think that, yeah, those that kind of old school mentality, whether it's old school or the the just volume based coaches that just like they have 200 plus clients, and they maybe pay attention to 40 of them or 50 of them, the
Yeah.
ones that are like genetically elite and easy to coach and don't ask questions, but the rest of them, they just kind of like let just kind of maintain and just collect their money. But that's the thing, is not everyone, most people, especially newer competitors, they do need more, but they also expect more. They expect you to be more than just a macro coach. I've seen that change a lot over the last few years, of just like, especially from where I started, where coming from a place of meal plans are bad, flexible dieting is the way to go, and like all natural, everything like that, like that's where I came from, and I had to unlearn some stuff
For
to
sure.
be the coach I am today, because it's like not everyone can succeed with that.
Yeah.
Everyone is a little different, everyone has different needs, and with like, you talk about, there's so many mental health concerns, there's also the physical health concerns, like functional health.
Yeah.
I can't, now that I've gone through a mentorship with Austin Stout and gotten through like more functional health stuff with him, I cannot imagine not having that education now as
Oh,
a coach. And
for
the
sure.
thought of people coaching without just like truly pushing that stuff under the rug, like a thyroid disorder or PCOS or something like that. I'm not pretending to be an expert, but it's definitely something that I can't imagine not having now,
Yeah.
because of how prevalent it is and how important it is to take care of people's health, not just be their bodybuilding coach.
Yes, I agree. And I think a lot of the, contest prep only coaches are going
Mhm.
to have that kind of hit them pretty hard in the face. They're going to have to start either taking the time to do continuing education on the functional aspects of it, or they're going to have to refer out. And that's okay
Yeah.
too. I think a big issue in our industry is that coaches feel like they need to be a jack of all trades and know
Yeah.
everything. I don't know everything. I don't claim to know everything. That's why I love being on the like Team Scooby Health. Like we have a weekly case study meeting where we go over different questions and things like that. And we have a circle of coaches that we can network and communicate with and get their
Mhm.
feedback on certain cases, of course keeping, client confidentiality
Yeah.
100%. But it's okay to reach out to other coaches, to ask more questions, to continue to learn. I feel like just coaches nowadays, they just act like they know it all. And that's not going to
Well, and
help you.
they're also competitive, right? So they want to act like they know it all, so nobody leaves
Yeah.
them, or so nobody thinks that they're not qualified to help them. And
Yeah.
that's like, yeah, you want to be able to keep your clients for sure, but if a client needs something that you don't have education for, you don't really know what to do with, like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You're either gonna refer it out, or they're gonna go to another coach, or you're gonna pretend to know more than you do, and possibly risk,
Yeah.
them getting worse or like worse.
Yeah. I agree. And I mean, those clients are going to respect the hell out of you. If you're like, listen, I don't know the answer to this, but I'm going to get back to you after I talk to so and so
Hmm.
who's more well versed in this. Or maybe you don't have time to do that and you're like, listen, I mean we've made great progress, but I think I can refer you elsewhere for this whatever it may be. And they're going to
Yeah.
respect you way more. They're going to refer more people to you because not everybody's going to have that functional issue. But then
Hmm.
after that client, you refer them out or you whatever, you should take it on yourself to do the research to learn a little bit more about it and not
Hmm.
just be like, okay, well, I'll just get like
I'll
an
push them
easier
off.
case the next time. Yeah, like, no, like
Yeah.
these issues are not going away. And
No.
we're seeing it more prevalent too now, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think part of why we're seeing it more prevalent is like just how bodybuilding continues to get bigger and more extreme and things like that, but also the fact that like people just talk about it more. Like we're in this age of like everyone talks about everything on social media, and so it might seem like things like are getting talked about more, and that it's like coaches doing that and making that a bigger thing, but it's really like it's coming from clients. It's always been there. It's just that like there's more coaches learning
Yep.
and getting better at this because there's not enough people in the actual medical realm
Hmm.
understanding a lot of this stuff. And so like you can either go to your doctor, or go to someone who doesn't know as much about like the functional health thing that you're dealing with, whether it be like GI or hormonal or whatever, or you can go to someone who is much more well versed in functional health and like is going to help you be more of an advocate maybe to your provider to get what you need and heal or improve or manage whatever's going on.
Yep, I agree. Because I think these issues have always been there, but the
Hmm.
old school kind of bodybuilding tactics were
Shoved it
always
under the
like,
rug.
yeah, that, or let's just add more drugs, or just pull this, or like, it's just band aid techniques. And
Yeah.
it will bite you in the ass if you do that and not actually address the internal health side of things. So, and that's what I mean, I'm huge on that component. I mean, if I didn't care about that, I wouldn't take a year off to kind of fix the mental kind of side of it because I knew that
Yeah.
that was so important for me to, level up as an athlete myself.
Yeah, a lot of athletes are in a rush, I see,
Yes.
and they hear time off and they're like, "Okay, so like 3 months or like a few months." Like,
Yeah.
no.
No.
Not generally. The
A
people
year.
that are only taking that amount of time off are people who are like in perfect health or close to it
Mhm.
and don't have any muscle to put on between seasons. And that's very few really just like Olympians, and that's it.
Agreed. Agreed. And I mean, even then, I was talking to my man about this the other day, talking about, some of the top wellness girls who they're just doing show after show after show every single year. And yes,
Mhm.
sometimes you can do that. But like my good friend Tiffany, she qualified for the O and she wanted to do every single show this year. But then she knew it was in her best interest to be better and bring a better package to the Olympia stage to actually
Mhm.
take time away from the stage. And I know she got so much beef on Wellness Observer Live guy, like saying like, "Oh, why doesn't she want to show up at these shows?" And it's like, cause she's young, she's 24, and she wants to dominate in this sport. So she knows that taking a couple shows off is actually gonna move her forward in placing
Yeah.
possibly. So I just
And
think,
everyone, like, people forget too that as a pro, like, you can still have different goals.
yeah,
So, like, there's people that really want to compete in multiple shows and possibly, like, especially if you're looking at like open bodybuilding men,
yeah,
like, a lot of those guys compete in multiple shows, not just for the placement, but because, like, they want to win and they want to make money
yeah,
and, get out there more and they just enjoy competing. I know a lot of figure pros who, like, they keep competing not necessarily for an O qualification, but because they just love it
yeah,
and they have fun with it. And if you have fun with it and you're healthy enough and you're progressing in some way, even if it's not like winning a pro show, then no one should make you feel bad about that. And I think,
no.
yeah, that wellness observer guy just likes to fucking stir shit up.
Yeah. Like at the end of the day, I'm like, who is that? Like whose dad is that? Like I don't even know.
Nobody, honestly.
But yeah, but that kind of goes I mean, it's yes, there's that. And then when we think about younger competitors though, who
Mhm.
are in the rush to, get to the national stage or something like that, I feel like it sucks to see because people are like, oh, I'm nationally qualified, and then looking at their physique that they're not actually nationally ready. Because
Mhm.
I'm sorry, guys, and I don't want to undermine anybody's work ethic or your placings or anything. It is so fucking easy to get nationally qualified.
Yeah,
I'm
it
sorry.
is.
It
Because think about
is
how
so
many
easy.
shows there really are in just in the US alone. Like there's almost in big cities, there's honestly sometimes a show every weekend.
Yeah,
And or like every other weekend. And some of those shows have 50 competitors, some of them have 300.
yeah,
And so if you get nationally qualified at a show with 50 people and like there was 3 girls in your class, that's not the best indication that you should go to nationals. If
agreed.
you truly look nationally ready, like if you look like the girls going pro or
Mhm.
the men going pro, that's different.
Yeah.
But if you just got nationally qualified, that's not like a ticket to nationals. It's just like, good job, you're allowed to go,
Mhm.
but doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going off of that too with my first year back to the stage next year is I may not be ready to stand and like hold my own next to like those top Olympian girls at like say Pittsburgh, New York, or Chicago or those big shows, but I'm gonna still do them. But I
Yeah.
might go to smaller shows too in order to get my Olympia qualification because now the point system's gone. So you do have to kind of work in that way as a pro. It's like, okay, well, my goal is to get to the Olympia and
Mhm.
eventually to place very well at the Olympia. But next year, I'm just getting to the Olympia. Like I want to make my mark in wellness. And I do think I can. I know I can.
Yeah.
But I may not get my Olympia qualification, at Pittsburgh Pro or New York
Right.
Pro, because I'm going up against fucking what, like Giselle and
Most yeah,
yeah.
majority Olympians.
Yeah. So it's a little different in the pro league, but my top advice for younger competitors is take your time, truly actually enjoy the sport for what it is,
Mhm.
build your physique up, because even if you turn pro, I mean, you look at not well, some people who turn pro, and then you compare them to the actual pro standard for that division, it's night and day. You still have to
Mhm.
put on size. Like you turn pro, awesome, congrats. You're back at square zero. Like you're at the bottom of the totem pole.
Yeah, I for sure relate to that. Like when I got my pro card, I think they were like it was NPC Nationals, which is like a very stacked show generally, and it was that year too. But I was probably one of the smallest people on stage in my class,
Hmm.
and I like you, I won because of my conditioning and overall look and posing. You know, looking at comparisons from that year, that was 2017 too, where it was just a lot smaller.
Yeah.
But there were plenty of women that were bigger and denser than me. They were just like they didn't come in razor sharp, and they kind of looked like a mess, or they just like didn't pose their bodies very well. And so like those things matter too, but I wish that I would have taken like 2+ years off after that, instead of just like, I think I that was in November and I of 2017, and my pro debut was in June of 2019. So
Okay.
I really only took about a year off, and
Hmm.
while I did make a lot of improvements, I didn't make enough. I made improvements that like an amateur could make and really make a difference and a splash, but not as pro. And so I've learned a lot of lessons failing that way.
Yeah,
But I think that's helped me become just a better athlete today, and also a better coach. Is just like failures and down moments, because they really kind of teach you who you are
definitely.
and teach you about your resilience. So
Definitely. Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about this on my podcast a little bit actually recently, how I feel like it's common for athletes especially, and just Gen Pop people, to they focus so much on their failures that they forget about the small wins that they get throughout the time. Like they
yeah,
harp so much on the failures that the wins are just like, okay, I won, yay. But like if you fail, like you fail and like you just
yeah,
hold that over your head.
you are a failure. Like you
Yeah,
identify with that.
exactly. But like they would never identify as a winner, you know? Like no way. Like they would still something would negative like they would pick something negative out of it. But yes, I do think a lot of people do rush the stage. And of course, guys, it's not like all a size game. You know,
Mhm.
especially with like wellness now, they're not going for like the bigger girls. That's why I don't know why somebody got so butthurt on an anonymous question to me the other day saying like, how dare you call your legs small, yada yada, like you're ridiculous for saying that. And I'm like, calm down. I never said my legs were small. I know that they're tree trunks, they're pretty thick. But
Yeah.
like I still need to grow my glutes. And that's not me being arrogant or stupid. Like my my legs, yes, from the back, my quads and my hamstrings are big, and my glutes are definitely bigger. Like I got a butt now. But like compared to some of those other girls, like I just need my glutes to be more dominant. So
Mhm.
yes, I
Yeah,
need.
you have to be really realistic and like objective about your body,
Yeah.
because most of the people around you, they either know next to nothing about the sport, or they're really only looking at you. So
Mm.
they think you look great, or they think you are, you are wellness, or you are this. And that's great. It's cool to have that validation, but that validation means nothing when it comes to like actually comparing yourself on stage
Yes.
to other people in your division, because they like you next to other people is a lot different than you just by yourself in the gym with good lighting and
Mhm.
maybe a filter or whatever.
Yeah.
And like there's nothing wrong with filters or good lighting or like catching yourself in great angles and everything. Like that's what a visual app is all about.
Hmm.
I don't think there's anything wrong with showcasing that and being a more of a highlight reel, but at the same time you still have to be humble and be realistic, and not tell yourself a story about where you're at when you're really not there.
Yeah.
And like you have to know that other people will also tell that story
Hmm.
and live it with you if you let yourself. And so you have to be able to be like, thank you for the compliment. I am really proud of myself, but I know that this is the reality. Like I've had to do that with myself and my own journey, because like I've taken 2.5 years off and done a lot of things differently. I have a new coach for the whole off season and now this prep. And I have a lot of people that I know are just like really, they believe in me hard. Like, you're gonna win. You're
Yeah.
gonna do so great. Like first call outs, I'm like, yeah, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Because I still have a long ways to go with my legs and
Yeah.
growing and everything. And I see this season for me as just more of a just like a re-entry and kind of like a pro debut 2.0 for myself.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a
and
good
that's
point.
like that's how I'm looking at it. I'm gonna be as competitive as I can, but I'm still objective enough to know that like I'll still need more time to grow after this.
Yeah. And I mean that's what makes you a good athlete. You know, I think people are like, "Oh, you're so hard on yourself, like you don't need to be so negative or down on yourself." It's like, "No,
Yeah.
we're not being negative. We're realizing that we still have potential. And
Hmm.
we, as, smart athletes, we're not going to just constantly, congratulate ourselves for our wins. We're going to be like, okay, how can I level up? But it's not in a way
Hmm.
that's bashing ourselves. Like
No.
me saying, like, oh, my glutes are small. It's not me discrediting the fact that I grew pretty good glutes from my pancake ass days. Like, I'm just realizing,
Yeah.
okay, to stand and hold my own next to Giselle. Like, like I need a little more oomph in the rear.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's just us being a smart athlete, and it's us being an athlete that wants to continue to progress each time. So,
Yeah.
and
I
I
think an important part of becoming that athlete is also like auditing your environment and
mm,
seeing who you're around and like
mhm,
really thinking hard about like who are the people around me. And so like I'm not just talking about your Instagram fan base or whatever because that's like you can get that anywhere, but
yeah,
like your significant other plays a really big role in if you have one, you and your dating life if you don't, your that plays a huge role in your ability to be objective
mm,
about yourself, especially as a bodybuilder. And if you want to go to a high level, whatever level you're currently at, if you have someone who doesn't really understand the sport, then they're probably going to hype you up and make you feel great and like just kind of let you lead and believe anything you say about yourself. And so they're they're not necessarily, not that you can't have a significant other that's not in the sport, but I know that it helps a lot when the person is really understanding and like takes the time to understand if they don't already.
yeah, I agree. That's why I said like your mom's always gonna think you look great. Like
Yeah.
your mom's not gonna like pull you off stage and say like, ah, you look like shit up there, man. Like,
Yeah. You
no,
have to surround yourself with people that are going to be real
yes,
with you,
honest.
like real in a kind way,
Yeah,
like
the
honest. I was having a
constructive way.
talk with a friend recently about that. Just like, I would never want a friend or significant other to just like blow smoke up my ass about
Mhm.
where I'm realistically at.
Yeah.
So I know that like the friends I have and the people that I talk to and like get feedback from, like they have to know what I'm actually doing.
Mhm.
So that's how I'm more selective with my friends or more selective with like the people that I share things with or ask advice from.
Definitely. And I mean, same goes for your coach, man. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
have leveled up my coaching because I'm able to now separate my emotion from it. Because, when a client doesn't do well, you're like, okay, well, I need to own this. Like, what could I have
Hmm.
done differently? But also, you have to zoom out and be like, okay, well, what do we need to do to actually improve this? And sometimes that means pulling them from prep, changing the
Yeah.
show, or saying,
Mhm.
listen, you need this much time off to actually grow and bring a better package. And I think there's some coaches that are so scared of losing that client, missing out on that little bit of dollar, that they're just so money focused or like
Mhm.
number driven that they forget that, okay, well, this client's not going to progress, but at least I'm still getting my money. I just need to, hype them up a little more and they'll just keep going. And they probably will,
Yeah.
but they won't do well. Like,
Yeah.
I think you need a coach who's going to be honest and real with you, but not like belittling and like demeaning by any means. Like,
Yeah, you should
no
never
one's that.
feel like ashamed
No,
with your coach at all.
no.
It's really what you said is like they just need to be able to be real and you need to be able to take that feedback
Mhm.
because like if my I've been there where a coach has like told me like, yeah, you'll be ready, like this you look great, and it's like he didn't have a high enough or realistic enough standard for that.
Mhm.
And that's why I showed up to pro stages in those seasons looking less than competitive, is
Yeah.
because like I wasn't given that honesty. And that sucks when you really realize like someone you trust
Mhm.
is not being honest with you. And so that's why it's just really important when you are choosing coaches is like asking questions, but being like kind of reading between the lines. And like if a coach is just telling you like yes, 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 all the like anything you want, or like for when it comes to a timeline,
Yeah.
then it's just something to think more about. And like that's why I like to have people talk to multiple coaches,
Mm-hmm.
so that, and I like to ask when I'm on a consult call of like, what is your preferred timeline, or are you open to a coach giving you a timeline?
Mm-hmm.
Because it tells you a lot about the person.
Definitely, definitely. I had a consult, and um, I look at photos, I look at dieting history, I look at all of that and take it into consideration. I take into the consideration their headspace too around it. And I'm not the type of coach to have my athletes pick a show and then we're like, okay, we're X amount of weeks out. Unless, of course, it's a national show. We can't change the date of that show. A pro show, we
Right.
can't really change the date, but there's several pro shows that we can choose from. I'd rather start a prep and then, 3, 4, 5 weeks out, okay, we're ready. Let's now kind of
Green light.
look at our choices here. But, I was honest with this girl. I was like, listen, like you have potential, but I think we need more time than you think. And I think that
Mhm.
goes for everybody. You typically need more time than you think.
Yeah.
12-week preps are a thing of the past, man. Like you
Yeah.
should 20 weeks or that's kind of my sweet spot there. But yeah, and I mentioned like, what do you think about a fall show or a winter showing next year? And she's like,
Mhm.
well, like my birthday's in July, and I'm just like,
Guess what? You have a birthday every year.
I know. Like
Like,
I get it, man. Like I made these cool glasses. They say birthday girl. I take my birthday serious. I love my birthday. But like that is not gonna like I'm not gonna pick a pro show next year basing it around when am I gonna look the best for my birthday? You
yeah.
know?
I
Like
think for a first show, like being like more concerned with stuff like that, like
mhm,
sure, I get it, makes sense, but like I like to ask people like, what is your actual goal? It's
yeah.
not just to get on stage because I know you want to do that,
Mhm,
but like, do you want to get on stage and be really competitive and be able to win, or do you just want to get on stage? Is this more of like a bucket list thing?
yep.
Because those are two very different goals with two different timeline requirements.
Yeah.
A bucket list thing, like I'm going to get you on stage because you just want to be there and you don't want to, you want to feel like you belong.
Hmm.
But belonging in something and being like having a great transformation isn't the same thing as winning and being able to like win an overall or being able to be competitive enough for one. And people kind of forget that, and I think don't ask themselves that question enough, like, well, what is my actual goal?
Hmm.
Because this like 2 plus 2 has to equal 4 with like what you're doing in relation to that goal.
Yes. That's why I always say it's like words mean nothing without action. Like
Mm-hmm.
that same person can be like, yeah, my goal is to eventually turn pro. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not a pro mindset there. And
Yeah.
it's like if your goal is to win, but you won't pick a later show because of X, Y, and Z, it's like, ugh, like that you're you're saying one thing, but it's just not lining up. And I
Yeah.
had a client who Kelsey, she just competed in her first season this year, and she straight up told me she was like, "This is just a bucket list thing for me. I don't think I'm gonna like it. I just want to try it. I just want to prove myself wrong." I'm like, "All right." And we went into it, and I was like, "This girl's gonna fucking love it. I know it." And
Yeah.
now she does. She loves it. She
Mm-hmm.
wants to take a long off season and like come back like and dominate. And I'm like, hell yeah. Like I knew that was gonna happen with her. But then there's some people who are just all talk about pro. I want to turn pro. I want to get to nationals. I want to do this, this, and that. But their actions and their mental do not line up with it. And that
Yeah.
means nothing. Like words mean nothing without action and actually doing it.
Yeah, I think that like people, if someone's listening to this and thinking about like if that is them, like, do I love this enough to actually
Mhm.
do it? Am I like, are my actions aligning with my goals? It's like it's okay to not compete. I
Yeah.
think that's something that a lot of people
Dude.
kind of forget to even think about. It's like they get into competing, because their boyfriend does it or their friends are doing it, or everyone at the gym says, "Oh, are you a competitor?" And like, or they get into it because of Instagram. I've heard so many people, especially like young men, think that they're getting into bodybuilding to make money. And it's like that's not true either. You're not making money until you're an open pro bodybuilder at the top 3 level. Like
Yep.
outside of that, a grand here and there is
Mhm.
not really anything to like throw your whole life into
Ah,
for that.
yeah.
Um and it's like, or they want the social media hype. They see the influencers and things like that, but you don't need to compete in order to look fit and
Nope.
be proud of yourself and challenge yourself and look crazy. Like it's really not necessary. And I had a client actually who we started with the goal of competing, and over the course of our time together she realized she's like, I really don't think I need to do this. I think I just want to like create the best physique I can
Yeah.
and not
Oh
be so
yeah.
fixated on a sport and a timeline and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
like, that's great. Let's do that. You can pivot
Mhm.
at any time. And like, even if I think some people get nailed married to a timeline for competing on a certain show because they tell everybody that they're doing this show, and they
Yeah.
like to give all the updates like 12 weeks out, 11 weeks out, and they share all their stats and everything. And while there's nothing wrong with that, but it does put you in the headspace that you're letting people down if you don't hit the mark on that day.
I agree.
And you shouldn't bodybuild for anybody else but yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I mean, I talk about it all the time, social media bodybuilders. Like,
Hmm.
it's
Yeah,
crazy how, like, even going back to, like, my pro debut, like, 2020, it was not this big. It was not this prevalent. And now
not
it's
at
like
all.
everybody and their freaking grandma, legit grandma, is, like, prepping and competing. And
Hmm.
you can be a bodybuilder without competing. And I
Yeah,
think people, but then if you claim to be a bodybuilder and you don't compete, people on Reddit or Instagram would be like, You're not a bodybuilder, you don't compete." It's like, shut up. Like,
yeah.
whatever. Like, if you practice what you preach, if your lifestyle is in alignment with bodybuilding and your goals are just to continuously better yourself, that I look up to
That's
that
what
way more.
makes the best bodybuilders.
Yeah, exactly. And it's developing a passion for bodybuilding versus developing a passion for just competing. Like, I feel like if you are just in it for show day, for competing, you're not going to last long. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like you have
Show day is so
to.
fleeting. It's so
Yes.
short.
Yeah.
And it's so like, it's not stressful to everybody, but it's like there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
And people don't really think about that
Hmm.
when they're like getting ready for a show, that like, yeah, you're seeing just like the cool moments.
Hmm.
Like you're seeing the moments on stage and the glam and the hype around it and your family coming to the show, and you're seeing the cool backstage shots and it looks so fun, and it is, but like there's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
And so you have to ask yourself, like, are you ready to do that? Like, because if it's only about that one day, then the days in your prep that it's really, really hard, where you're pushing really low calories, high cardio, those days are not going to feel, it's not going to feel like it's worth it.
Hmm.
And then, you're either going to cheat on your diet, or you're going to do it and you're going to feel like you kind of resent wasting all that
Yeah.
time doing that. And I
Yeah.
think when I see people get out of competing and like hang up the heels,
Hmm.
and they talk shit about bodybuilding and how it ruined their life or ruined their health, and it's like, no, you did that.
Hmm.
You did that. You could have done it with any other sport, any other hobby. You didn't have the right mindset going into this because you didn't do it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
You did it for the clout or the glam or the Instagram fame or whatever, and you weren't really in love with the sport.
Yeah.
You weren't in love with challenging yourself. And that's okay, but don't blame bodybuilding for your health issues, because you put the food in your mouth, you chose that coach, you did that drug, you did that thing.
Hmm. I agree. And you see it so often. Like, it's funny, like, they market it, like, they do the prep and they're like marketing towards competitors, and then they fuck up afterwards or something goes south.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, oh, well, shit, now I can't market towards competing because I can't compete anymore. So then they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I hate bodybuilding. Like, let's just do food freedom and all this stuff. And like,
Yeah. Body
no.
positivity.
Yeah, like exactly. And like bodybuilding doesn't cause these issues. Those issues were there before. It just kind of uncovers the shit, you
Yeah.
know? And it's up to you to fix it. But I think also like people on social media, they're like trying to get into the coaching realm and they're like, well, I have to compete to be a coach. And like that's not true either. Because Cameron,
No.
he doesn't compete.
No.
Like Mike Nassif, he's a really good Camp Jansen coach. He doesn't compete. I mean, Hani, top level Olympian coach, he
Yeah.
doesn't compete. Like all these like top level coaches are, I mean, maybe they've done a show once or twice before, but you don't have to be an active competitor to coach competitors. You
No.
know,
Well, the people that I think that are people that think that their own progress is going to be what sells their coaching.
yeah.
That's one of like the things that I really hate seeing when someone is marketing their services
Mm-hmm.
with their body,
Yep.
because you are really marketing your coach's
Your
services
coaches. Yeah.
at that, but you're not tagging your coach because you want people to hire you. you know?
It's happened to me way too many times. So, yeah,
Yeah, it's like I can't imagine doing that, like sharing my own progress and being like DM me for coaching,
exactly.
because like that just shows you that like I have good genetics. I
Mhm.
work, bro. Come on, man. Little nub tail made this go. Um, like that just shows that you are good at following directions,
Exactly.
and that's not a bad thing, but like give your coach the credit first of all, and show people the receipts of you
Yeah.
knowing how to coach, which is like progress pictures, transformation from your clients, not you, and educational content, answering questions, even stuff like my like mindset, or like a mindset or motivational lifestyle type post, like
Mhm.
those things are what helps people see if they want to coach with you, not your own progress.
Yeah. And I think the people who are reaching out to you solely based off of your look, like, oh, I just want to look like you, they're not going to last long because
Yeah.
they don't actually understand how you got there. Because, yes, it does have
Mhm.
to come with like genetics, can be like enhancements, things like that. But personally, me, I love shouting out my coach because I'm like,
Same.
dude, like, look at the sick work that we have put in. But also,
Mhm.
I love sharing and documenting my clients' progress, even though they do, very shit compared to like a picture of me or like a post of me training. Like,
Yeah.
I love it. I don't care. I used to get very caught up in like the social media side of like
Algorithm.
likes and comments and all that stuff. But now I'm just like, I don't care if this transformation gets 25 likes. Like,
Yeah, because it's part of your resume, and
yeah,
that's
it's
what I think
portfolio.
like
Yeah.
gets people down um about social media and like marketing their coaching, is
Mhm.
that they're so caught up in the algorithm and what does well and what doesn't go well, when it's like it doesn't matter that you're getting engagement or not. Like in reality, you're if you're doing a good job and you're executing, like it's gonna come.
Yeah.
So that's why like you should post your transformations
Mhm.
even if they don't get very good
Yeah.
engagement. Like mine don't either. And like I know what's going to get good engagement, but like I don't want those clients, because what I've found over years of coaching now is like the clients that want to be with me because of how I look
Mhm.
is like they don't end up always being great clients. That's like not completely true. Like I have a lot of clients that have signed up with me because I'm a figure pro, or
Mhm.
because I'm had one girl tell me she signed up with me based on like all the coaches on the website for my last company. She said I wanted to work with the blonde one. I was like, bless your heart. But that was 3 years ago, and she's
Yeah.
still with me because I'm
Yeah.
actually a decent coach.
Yeah.
So like, it's just funny. That's like, I think people, especially with now all the like the coaches and the marketing gurus and business coaches out
Mhm.
there, like they're some are great,
Yeah.
but most of them are just teaching you how to sell and advertise. And that's, I have three coaching spots left, and I have, I'm
Dude,
looking for. 5 women who want to change their
Oh my
lives,
god,
you know?
I can't stand that one. Or like,
Yeah,
yeah,
and they're teaching marketing and sales. And it's
yeah,
like, really, yeah, you should know a little bit about marketing and what looks good and whatnot, but like, you should also just know how to coach. And if you know how to coach, then you'll be able to have something to show for it. And
hmm
if you don't, then work quietly until you get there.
yeah. I'd rather slow organic growth, which I know if my boyfriend listens to this, he's gonna be like, "Shut the fuck up!" Like, you want like more clients like now, and like, yeah, I do. But at the end of the day, it's definitely not a number game for me. And I
Yeah.
think you can
I don't want to sell my soul for it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And like I think you can tell like the coaches who are in for the money and the clout versus the ones that actually care. Because I've
Mm.
had it where like some coaches like won't post their clients' transformation because it ruins the aesthetic of their Instagram, and I'm just like, what?
Really?
Huh?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how are you even a coach? So yeah, you
I
can.
always see it as kind of a red flag,
Oh
honestly,
my
if like someone is coaching but they don't share any client
God.
transformations
It's just
and
them
they
on
don't
their
have a
page.
business page sharing them either.
I don't know how they
Because
have clients. Yeah.
me neither. Like I remember someone was like telling me about someone that like it was a suggestion of to put someone on my podcast, and like it was someone that like I don't really follow, and I look at their page and they're a coach and they talk a lot about coaching, but they don't share any client stuff. So I'm like, how do I even know that you're a good coach?
Mhm.
You're really just a good salesperson at this point.
Exactly. Yeah,
Like maybe you have good clients and you're doing a good job, like, but it's just odd to
I
me when
think so
people
too.
don't have that.
Yeah, yeah. People are just real good at content nowadays and really good at marketing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
What is a value that you have now as a coach that either surprises you or you didn't have when you first started coaching?
I guess like try I value my clients' mental success greater than their physical transformations. And I
Yeah.
make sure that they also value that more. Maybe not
Mm,
more, but they understand, okay, well, maybe I haven't achieved my physical progression yet, but look how far I've come
love
from
this.
a mental, like headspace wise. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
know
love that.
we're not claiming to be like psychiatrists or anything like that, but coaches do a lot of deep inner work. And if your coach doesn't, you're missing a big mark of progress.
Yeah.
Because, I mean,
But I
I
think that's also just a hard thing to sell as a coach or like showcase,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Is like you can't showcase someone's inner work on a transformation post. It's not sexy. It's not like a lot of people who think that they like really want to win, they don't
Hmm.
really think that that stuff matters.
Yeah.
And what I've found is like I've had people like come to me from like bigger names
Hmm.
or more successful pros or
Hmm.
something as their coach, and they realize that like the grass isn't green just because someone looks a certain way or is at a certain level. Like your coach should be someone that matches your vibe
Hmm.
and allows you to become a better person. So
Agreed.
I love that. I agree, and that's why I like to share like the client wins that they
Mhm.
tell me, even if it's like has nothing to do with their physique or whatever, because it's like that's so much cooler to me. Like you're becoming a better person, and like that's cool. Like
Yeah,
that's what life should be all about.
I agree. I agree. It gets deeper than it's way deeper than what meets the eye, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah,
but of course, me sharing, a Dutch panel results showing that, oh, we regained her period after 4 years and now she has sex hormones where they were all bottomed out before. It's like, okay,
yeah,
but like, what does she look like? It's like,
yeah,
why, like, why does that matter? Like,
yeah.
people are just, it's not eye catching. It's not sexy, like you said, but
They have different
more
priorities.
impactful
Yeah.
down the road.
And those people figure it out at some point, I feel like.
Oh yeah.
Like the people that don't care about that stuff now, like the
Mhm.
health part of it, their functional health, their hormones, like they end up caring whether it's like they had to learn the really, really hard way and go down like to rock bottom before they came back up and realized what they were missing from that kind of coach, or they somehow realize they need something different. They need that coach that's going to care about them mentally. So,
Agreed.
well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really loved this one,
This
and I'm
is it.
excited to release it. I think this is a great podcast for anyone that just like is really maybe just starting out and competing, or like they've been in it and are feeling kind of lost. It's like you have to work on that inner you, and you're think about what your identity really is and who you are. That's what'll make you a better bodybuilder. Well, thank you so much. I will have all of Megan's info on in the show notes. She is Megan Scooby Health on Instagram. Can't miss her. So, oh yeah, doctor. That's right. Yeah, you earned that title. Yeah, one day they'll get pissed. And you can just keep doing your thing. All right, girl. Well, thank you so much. I will keep seeing you on the gram.